We can complain about the mainstream media all we want, but the fact is that there's more sources of information, of data, of analysis, of points of view available to all of us today than at any point in human history. I mean, I said this many times. I don't listen to any television news, any. I never watch CNN or CNBC or MSNBC or Fox News or Fox Business or anything. I just don't. And yet, I'm better informed than 99% of people out there. Because I read, and I check up on my sources, and I go read commentary, and I read more from this perspective or more from that perspective, and I read the left, and I read the right, and I read economists that I admire and thinkers I admire, whether I agree with them on everything or not. That's the only way to do it. And people don't do that. And people are afraid, and people get conflicting information, and they're scared. And again, when you're scared, you look for leadership. But you're right. There is absolutely no plan. And the only plan they had before was shut down or keep everything open. There's no plan. There's no thinking. There's no strategy. There's nothing. And the same, somebody asked, what do you make of Texas being the first state to reopen its economy? Well, is it really reopening its economy? And is it the first state? There are a bunch of states that never closed the economy. I was just reading that South Dakota, the governor says, it's not my job to close the economy. People should make a decision about whether they want to go to work or not. I recommend social distancing, but people should make a decision about how much they want to social distance. I mean, in South Dakota, they haven't, or North Dakota, or a number of other states, they have not closed down the economy. So Texas might be the first state to reopen, but what's the plan to reopen? How are they going to reopen? And so maybe I'll say a few things about reopening the economy. Again, there's no plan. I don't see a plan in Texas on how to reopen the economy. If there are a lot of infections in Texas, they're going to reopen the economy, and then if a lot of people get infected, would they close it again? How are they going to prevent new people from getting infected? How do they prevent the hospitals going to be overloaded in July or in August, or if it's seasonal, in October or November? What's the plan? Now, Texas has an advantage that it's going into the warm season, and there's some reason, although it's not clear, to think that the virus is seasonal, and during the warm season, hot and humid in Texas, it won't spread quite as much as it does in cold weather. But what if that doesn't work out? Is there a plan? Now, my view is you've got to have a plan. And the plan goes back to what we should have done initially. We should have never locked down the economy to begin with. The plan should have been straightforward, and I've been saying this for 2 months. Test, trace, and isolate on a massive scale. Again, instead of a $2 trillion stimulus package, which was caused by the fact that these idiots locked down the economy. Instead of that, you could have, if the government has to do it, you could have scaled massively on testing, used private companies, but used government dollars on a massive scale to test, then use the money to hire thousands and thousands and thousands of people who would then use, whether it's technology or whether it's just the old-fashioned way of interviewing people, about tracing where they went, who they met, who they saw, who they might have infected, going to those people and testing them, and then creating facilities where you can isolate people, whether it's hotels, or you can try to get people to isolate themselves at home, but if they don't live up to that, you put them in a hotel and you say you can't leave. For 2 weeks, can't leave. That's completely legitimate. That is the role of government. Instead of all of us being imprisoned in our homes, imprison those who have the virus, because those who have the virus are a threat to the individual rights of others, and it's completely legitimate role of government, to isolate them. So as states open up, what they should be doing is opening up with a staff of thousands to test, trace, and isolate. And at the same time, give clear guidance about social distancing, about who's at risk. We're still afraid to say it, and I still get resistance even from people who follow me. This is a virus that threatens old people by orders of magnitude more than it threatens young people. So to the extent that we're going to isolate anybody, isolate old people. So tell people, kick your mother-in-law out of the house. Put her up in a hotel. Don't let her leave. Get her food, what do they call it? Uber Eats or something, and make sure she has enough food, and keep her away from the kids and keep her away from everybody else. Open the schools. Let people back to work with the idea of social distancing, with the idea of wearing masks, with the idea of washing your hands, with the idea of don't touch your face. And 65-year-olds and above don't go to work anyway, and they don't go to school anyway. So what's the problem? Just keep them isolated. And that should be done voluntarily. It's not that hard. People should care about old people. Old age homes and different facilities for old people should be isolating them, which they are. But they don't need the government to tell them that. They're there. It's their responsibility to take care of their population, and this is what they should do. So, opening up the economy. Now, it's going to be very difficult to open up the economy because even if everything goes right, first of all, we don't have the testing, and we don't have the isolation, and we don't have the tracking. So what is going to happen? People are going to get infected again. You're going to go through this cycle of infection and non-infection and warm and cold weather, and on we go for 2 years until there's a vaccine. And who knows if in 2 years we'll have a vaccine. And that'll be crippling to the economy because you won't be able to project, is the economy going to be open next month or is it going to be closed? What sections are going to be open? What sections are going to be closed? It's just a disaster from an economic planning perspective, and therefore from an economic perspective. People in the economy, for the economy to thrive, need to be able to plan ahead. And what's going to happen? The government's going to keep printing money to keep people employed. But the stimulus packages, for example, incentivize people not to go back to work because they get more money for longer under unemployment insurance because of what the stimulus package has increased unemployment insurance. Many people will get 116% of their salary. Why would they go back to work? If they can stay home or work in the black market and make more money. And a lot of restaurants, let's say now you have social distancing. Let's say you have social distancing. Well, how do you do that in restaurants? So restaurants now have to spread out the tables more and they have to take in less customers. Well, if they take in less customers, they have less revenue. But their expenses are about the same because restaurants have a lot of fixed costs. How are they going to make a profit? How are airlines ever going to become profitable again? Well, prices are going to have to go up significantly if you're going to keep middle seats open in all airplanes. If prices go up, demand will go down. Airlines are going to have to shrink, and our ability to travel is going to be reduced. Every way you look at this, the long-term consequences to the economy are negative. There is no silver lining. There's nothing positive about this. I mean, every industry that is being touched by the coronavirus is going to stay touched as long as we don't get rid of it. And the only way to get close to getting rid of it, testing, tracking, and isolation. And you do that, you build this infrastructure up, and you keep it there for months. But that is the least intrusive. And people say, ooh, privacy, we're going to have to trace people. Of all the solutions to this that do not involve mass death, intrusiveness of tracking, particularly if the tracking is done by companies like Apple and Google, or by other tech companies, is the least of your worries. I'm happy for them to track my phone if they leave me free otherwise. And if I can disable the app once this thing is over. Somebody says the solution to this is hydrochloroquine. Come on, people, really? I mean, you really have to believe literally every single thing that comes out of Donald Trump's mouth, with unjudgmentally? Hydroxy something, might help. It's not a miraculous cure. It's thousands of people are right now being treated with it in hospitals. There's a massive supply of the drug that's gone out there. This is the malaria drug that, in combination with what do you call it? Antibiotics is being used in thousands of hospitals. And it might relieve some symptoms. And it might be a good cure for some people. But it's not magic. It's not the thing that if you take, this is it. That is bullshit on a massive scale. And good, I'm glad you listen. You follow one doctor. That's good, one doctor. Good for you. That's the way to get objective information about it. Right? This is being used on thousands of people, and it's not curing anywhere near the kind of percentages that people claim it is. Unfortunately, I wish it was. Now, I'm not against it. I'm against doing more, using it more, testing it more, but it's not a cure.
What we need today, what I call the new intellectual, would be any man or woman who is willing to think. Meaning, any man or woman who knows that man's life must be guided by reason, by the intellect, not by feelings, wishes, whims, or mystic revelations. Any man or woman who values his life and who does not want to give in to today's cult of despair, cynicism, and impotence, and does not intend to give up the world to the dark ages and to the rule of the collectivist brutes.
Using the super chat, and I noticed yesterday when I appealed for support for the show, many of you stepped forward and actually supported the show for the first time. So I'll do it again. Maybe we'll get some more today. If you like what you're hearing, if you appreciate what I'm doing, then I appreciate your support. Those of you who don't yet support the show, please take this opportunity. Go to yaronbrookshow.com/support or go to subscribestar.com, Yaron Brook Show, and make a kind of a monthly contribution to keep this going. I'm not sure when the next